My father always measured people by their paychecks. That was just who he was. He looked at everyone through the lens of money, success, and status. My older brother, Peter, was his golden child. Peter had the fancy car, the corner office at a major firm, and the six-figure salary. He was everything my father valued. And then there was me. I was the disappointment, the daughter who loved books more than business. While Peter was making deals and climbing corporate ladders, I spent my time lost in stories, in words, in the magic of literature. My father never understood me, never even tried to. To him, I was a failure before I even started. After college, I became an editor at a small publishing house downtown. I absolutely loved my job. I spent my days helping authors bring their stories to life, polishing their words, finding the heart of their narratives. Every book I worked on felt like a gift, a chance to share something beautiful with the world. But to my father, it was nothing. He called it a cute job for a hobby, like I was just playing around until I got a real career. It didn't matter how much I tried to explain that this was my career, that this work meant everything to me. He would just shake his head and change the subject to Peter's latest promotion. I met Alex on a rainy evening at a library fundraiser. He was standing in front of a display about ancient Rome, completely absorbed. I walked over, and we started talking about history, about books, about stories that changed the world. He was a high school history teacher, passionate about his students and incredibly kind. When he talked about teaching, his whole face lit up. He made me laugh that night, really laugh, for the first time in months. We connected over our shared love for stories, for learning, for helping others find meaning in the world. Alex made me feel seen for who I truly was, not for what I could earn or accomplish. It was the most refreshing feeling in the world. After dating for a few months, I finally worked up the courage to bring Alex home to meet my family. I was nervous, but I thought maybe my father would see what I saw in him. The dinner was a disaster. My father spent the entire evening grilling Alex about his finances, his career prospects, his future plans. Alex was honest and genuine. He said he loved teaching, that he lived comfortably, that he was happy with his life. My father just stared at him coldly. After Alex left, my father pulled me aside. He called Alex ambitionless and a waste of potential. His words cut deep. I tried to defend Alex, but my father wouldn't listen. Despite my father's disapproval, my relationship with Alex grew stronger every day. He became my rock, the person I could count on no matter what. He supported my dreams completely, encouraged my writing, celebrated my small victories at work. He was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. But every time I mentioned him to my family, I was met with the same cold response. My father either gave me icy silence or made cutting remarks about my low standards. My mother would just look away uncomfortably. Peter would laugh and ask when I was going to date someone successful. It was exhausting, constantly defending the man I loved to people who refused to understand. After a year together, Alex proposed to me in the most perfect way. We were at our favorite bookstore, surrounded by stories, when he got down on one knee. I said yes immediately, tears streaming down my face. It was the happiest moment of my entire life. That night, I called my father, my heart full of hope. Maybe this would finally be the moment he would come around. Maybe he would be happy for me. Instead, his voice was cold when he answered. I told him the news excitedly. There was a long pause. Then he said, "You're making a permanent mistake. Don't expect me to be there." The line went dead. He had hung up on me. I couldn't just let it end like that. A few days later, I went to my father's office downtown. I needed to talk to him face to face, to make him understand. I sat across from him at his big mahogany desk, and I poured my heart out. I told him how much I loved Alex, how happy he made me, how good and kind he was. My father listened without expression. When I finished, he leaned back in his leather chair and looked at me like I was a stranger. "If you marry that nobody," he said slowly, each word deliberate, "you are no daughter of mine." His words were final, absolute. There was no room for argument or appeal. I left his office with tears streaming down my face. I cried for an entire week after that conversation. I barely ate, barely slept. I had to make an impossible choice between my father and the man I loved. My whole life, I had tried to earn my father's approval, tried to make him proud of me. But it was never enough. Nothing I did was ever enough for him. With a broken heart, I finally chose Alex. I realized that my father's love had always had conditions attached to it, and I simply didn't meet those conditions. I never would. Alex loved me unconditionally for exactly who I was. That was worth more than anything my father could offer me. Alex and I decided to have a small, intimate wedding. We couldn't afford anything extravagant anyway, not on our salaries. We found a beautiful garden venue outside the city. My best friend, Sophia, agreed to be my maid of honor. Since my father refused to walk me down the aisle, Sophia would do it instead. She would be the one to give me away. It wasn't the dream wedding I had imagined as a little girl, the one where my father walked beside me with tears of pride in his eyes. But it was real, and it was filled with genuine love from the people who actually cared about me. That had to be enough. As we planned the wedding, I realized something strange. Alex was very mysterious about his family. Whenever I asked about them, he would give vague answers. He said they were very private people, that they lived out of state, that they preferred to keep to themselves. He promised I would meet them at the wedding, that they would be there. I trusted Alex completely, so I didn't push for more information. I figured every family had their quirks. Maybe his parents were just shy or uncomfortable with attention. It didn't really matter to me. I was marrying Alex, not his family. As long as he was there, that was all I needed. What nobody knew, not even Alex at first, was that I was hiding my own secret success. A year earlier, I had written a novel under a pen name. It was just something I did for myself, a story I needed to tell. I never expected anything to come of it. But then a small publisher picked it up, and somehow, impossibly, it became a surprise bestseller. The money started coming in, more than I had ever imagined. I kept it secret, maintained a separate bank account. It was my safety net, my insurance policy. My father knew nothing about it. Nobody did. The money sat there quietly, growing, waiting for when I might need it. A few weeks before the wedding, my father accidentally found out about my book. There was a local news segment about successful authors in the area, and my pen name was featured. Someone at his office mentioned it, talking about how impressive the unknown author was. My father called me that night, his voice actually excited for once. "See," he said, "if you had written something like this, if you had this kind of success, I would be proud of you." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. He had no idea he was praising his own daughter. The irony was almost funny. The secret burned inside me like fire, but I kept it locked away. The wedding day finally arrived. I woke up early, my stomach full of butterflies. Sophia came over to my apartment to help me get ready. She did my hair and makeup, talking excitedly the whole time to keep my spirits up. As she helped me into my simple white dress, I felt a sudden pang of sadness. I wished my father could be there, wished he could see me on this day. But I pushed the feeling down deep. Today was about my future with Alex, not about my broken past with my father. Today was about moving forward, not looking back. I smiled at my reflection in the mirror and told myself I was ready. We arrived at the garden venue in the early afternoon. The weather was perfect, sunny and warm with a gentle breeze. The chairs were set up in neat rows facing a beautiful floral arch. White flowers bloomed everywhere. It was elegant and perfect, exactly what we had imagined. I waited in a small room at the back of the venue, my arm linked with Sophia's. Through the window, I could see guests arriving and taking their seats. My heart was racing, but it was mostly from excitement now. I took a deep breath and told myself everything was going to be okay. I was about to marry the love of my life. That was all that mattered. The music started playing softly. That was our cue. Sophia and I were about to step out when I heard a car outside. I looked through the window and my heart stopped. A familiar black Mercedes screeched to a halt in the parking area. My father got out, slamming the door behind him. He hadn't come to apologize, I could tell immediately. He didn't look remorseful or ashamed. Instead, he had that smug, determined look on his face, the one he wore when he was about to close a deal or win an argument. He was here to stop what he saw as a disaster, to save me from my own terrible decision. My hands started shaking. My father marched toward the ceremony area with purpose. Guests turned in their seats to look at him, confused whispers spreading through the crowd. My heart was hammering so hard in my chest I thought it might explode. Was he here to make a scene? To drag me away? To humiliate me in front of everyone? I held onto Sophia's arm tighter, using her as an anchor. "Do you want me to have him removed?" she whispered urgently. I shook my head. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing how much he could still hurt me. I would go through with this wedding no matter what he did or said. I had made my choice. I began my walk down the aisle, my chin held high. I kept my eyes fixed firmly on Alex, who was standing at the altar smiling at me with so much love in his eyes. I wouldn't let my father ruin this moment. I wouldn't give him that power over me anymore. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see him standing at the edge of the seated guests. He wasn't trying to stop me. He was just standing there, staring. But he wasn't looking at me at all. His eyes were locked on something else entirely, something at the altar. His confident expression was cracking, being replaced by confusion and something that looked almost like fear. What was he seeing? I kept walking, my bouquet trembling slightly in my hands. Then I noticed my father's gaze shifting. He wasn't looking at Alex anymore. He was staring at the man standing next to Alex, the man who was officiating our wedding. It was Alex's father, dressed in an elegant suit. My father was studying him intently, like he was trying to place a face he recognized, but couldn't quite remember from where. His brow furrowed with concentration. His confident expression faltered even more. I saw his mouth open slightly in shock, though no sound came out. Then his gaze shifted again, moving to the front row. My father's eyes locked onto an elegant woman sitting in the front row on the groom's side. She was dressed in a simple but unmistakably expensive outfit, the kind of understated luxury that only truly wealthy people understood. Her posture was perfect, her jewelry was subtle but clearly real. Everything about her screamed old money, generations of wealth and refinement. As I watched, my father's face went completely pale. All the blood drained from his cheeks. His eyes went wide with recognition. His hand came up to clutch at his chest. He knew who she was. He recognized her. And the recognition seemed to physically hurt him. He took a stumbling step forward, his legs unsteady beneath him. I finally reached the altar, my journey down the aisle complete. Alex took both of my hands in his eyes shining with love and pride. His touch steadied me, reminded me why I was here. Behind me, I heard a commotion. My father had taken another stumbling step forward. He pointed a trembling finger at Alex's mother in the front row. "You," he stammered, his usually confident voice shaking. "You're Eleanor Sterling." The name rang out in the suddenly silent garden. Every single person turned to look, first at him, then at the elegant woman. She smiled graciously, completely unruffled by the attention. She was used to being recognized, I realized. This happened to her all the time. The entire audience was staring now, trying to understand what was happening. Eleanor Sterling simply inclined her head slightly in acknowledgement. Then she looked directly at Alex, with so much warmth and love in her eyes. "She's beautiful, son," she said clearly, her voice carrying across the quiet garden. The word son seemed to echo in the silent space. It hung in the air like a revelation. Son. Alex was her son. Alex was a Sterling. I felt my own surprise, even though I was standing right there. Alex had never told me his last name was Sterling. He had always just been Alex to me. My teacher, my partner, my love. The name had never mattered. But clearly, it mattered very much to my father. I turned slightly to look back at my father. I watched as his head snapped toward Alex like he was seeing him for the very first time. I could actually see the pieces clicking into place in his mind. The humble history teacher with the modest salary was Alexander Sterling, the sole heir to the Sterling fortune. The Sterlings were legends in the business world, a family so wealthy and powerful that they were practically royalty. They owned hotels, real estate, investment firms. They were the kind of family that didn't need to show off their wealth because everyone already knew about it. And my father had spent years trying to get a business meeting with them, trying to network his way into their circle. He had been rejected every single time. My father looked like someone had physically punched him in the stomach. All the remaining color drained completely from his face, leaving him gray and sick-looking. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air, but no words came out. The man he had called a nobody and ambitionless was from a family so wealthy they made my father's success look like pocket change. The teacher he had mocked and dismissed was someone my father would have done anything to connect with professionally. He had insulted a Sterling. He had rejected a Sterling. He had forbidden his daughter from marrying a Sterling. The irony was crushing him right there in front of everyone. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Alex squeezed my hand gently, bringing my attention back to him. He leaned in close and whispered, so only I could hear, "I wanted you to love me for me, not for my name or my family's money." Tears filled my eyes, but they were happy tears. I understood now why he had hidden it, why he had been so mysterious about his family. He had wanted to be sure I loved him for who he was, not what he had. And I did. I loved him completely. Then Alex turned slightly and looked directly at my father. His gaze was calm but firm, filled with quiet strength. "You lost a truly amazing daughter," he said clearly, his voice carrying to every corner of the garden. "And you never even saw her worth." The words hung in the air like an accusation. Alex and I turned back to face his father, the officiant, ready to continue with our ceremony. Behind us, my father remained frozen in place, stunned into complete silence. As we said our vows, promising to love and cherish each other, I didn't feel anger or bitterness toward him. I didn't feel the need for revenge. Instead, I felt peace, pure and simple. My father had chosen money over me, had valued wealth and status more than his own daughter's happiness. And in the end, his obsession with those things was exactly what showed him how truly poor he was. Not in money, but in the things that actually mattered. Love, family, connection, support. He was left standing there alone at the back of the garden, while I moved forward into my new life. I was rich in every way that truly counted, and he would never understand that. He had lost me forever, and it was entirely his own fault. I said I do with my whole heart, and I never looked back.